Welcome to the Work-Life Balance Podcast. I am Kara.
And I am Maggie.
Together, we're a power real estate team with the Bajetti Partners in Nashville.
We believe that the hustle culture of today's driven entrepreneur who lives and works in Middle Tennessee requires balance.
Welcome back to another episode of Work-Life Balance. Today, we have a special guest with us, my dear friend, Mark Hemphill, who is a major Nashville flipper. And we're gonna have some fun today talking to him and kind of getting an idea of what that life looks like. So thanks for coming today, Mark.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So kind of just give us a little background on maybe how you even got into this whole flipping.
Sure. Well, it probably stems from an entrepreneurial personality. So my degree was actually in pharmacy.
Okay.
So I practiced pharmacy for 5 or 6 years and then always had an entrepreneurial spirit. So even as a kid, I was making candles out of logs or something and selling them for $20 to my teacher or something. But anyway, I just always loved having a creative side, and because I can't sing or play an instrument, I had to figure out some way to use that. So business is a way that you could. And so I got out of pharmacy, went into the pharmaceutical industry, and practiced, or actually sold for them for 5 or 6 years, and then transitioned to different upstart companies from there. But it was always dealing in real estate of some sort. A friend of mine would move to town, I would buy a house, he would rent from me, so that's kind of where it started.
Love that. So why did you get out of pharmacy?
The biggest reason I think was because I just like to have something different every day. Wouldn't do anything different from my education, but pharmacy was just a repetitive thing. You did the same thing every day. Yeah. And I finally got to the point to where I felt like I needed to do something different. And I had a friend of mine say, Mark, you need to do this or you need to do that. And I finally, after debating it for 2 years, branched out and started interviewing. They were like, oh, you don't have any sales experience, so you can't go into sales. So finally I convinced someone to hire me, and that's how I got out of pharmacy.
Well, that's good. I mean, you very much are a people person, so it's probably hard.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah. Nobody all day.
Yes. So then flipping real estate just comes into mind at this part, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not qualified because pharmacy is a pretty individual, that's what your degree's in, right?
Sure.
You're kind of stuck in that field.
Right.
So then real estate kind of gets thrown in your lap. And
Yes.
did you at that point, you were renting homes and then decided maybe I could go to the auctions?
Yep. Was renting homes, even working with other people in the field that were wanting to invest in properties. And so kind of helping them through that process. But eventually I met an investor, and the investor came in and said, hey, do you know this market? He was not from here. I said, I do know the market. He says, well, let me tell you what I've been doing in another state. So that's how I actually got into the foreclosure market.
Got you. Okay.
That was going to be my question, is if somebody helped you get into it or if you were like 100% self-starter.
So because every state is different, it took a lot of time to learn this market because the laws, there are a lot of different states, or the states have a lot of different laws pertaining to the same situation.
Okay. So he was flipping in other states, and he saw Nashville as maybe another opportunity where there was a lot of foreclosures.
Yes.
And he needed somebody on the ground.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And about what year was this? Was this after?
This was probably 8 years ago or so.
Okay. So about after all the crash and
yeah.
things were starting to settle. Let me see what year we're in.
Yeah. 22. So this was, 2015.
Okay.
Or so.
So I guess with the auctions, so now you're down there, and that's like a daily. You're full time into this.
Right.
Okay, full time job. Every day you're at the auctions. Or are you doing? You have people at the auctions for you, kind of like.
So it depends on where I need the work done. If it's in a different city, I can't be at multiple cities if the auctions are at the same time. So I do have people that go to the auctions for me.
Okay.
And they'll go. I'll give them what I think the max bid should be, and they'll go in and they'll bid on those properties for me.
Maybe can you just do a rough I know, because we obviously used to flip homes, but I
Yeah.
don't feel like most people do.
Yeah.
And Maggie
Yeah.
for sure doesn't, and she's
Yeah, like
super
what does a day in
intrigued.
the life look
Yeah, like
like?
what does it look
Yeah.
like? Can you just give us a rough day? Like, what does it look like? You wake up, you're looking at all the stuff. Like,
Yeah.
how does that go?
Wow. So
Every day's different.
yeah, every single day is different. There's no day that's identical. But the bottom line is I go in and I have to figure out which properties are out there that I'm even interested in.
Right.
And then there's a lot that goes into figuring out, okay, of these that I'm interested in, which ones are actually going to go to auction, which ones are going to cancel, because you can spend a lot of time and get nothing accomplished.
Right.
So and it takes a lot. It's hours and hours and hours.
Can I ask you something
Yeah.
about profit? I know we don't really want to get in like money very much,
Yeah.
but when you're going and prospecting for houses that are going to the auction, what percent or like profit margin do you look for when you are prospecting for those?
So I get asked that question a ton.
Yeah.
And I do not have a profit margin associated with it, because something easy that is relatively new, doesn't have a lot to do to it from a remodel standpoint, that you can turn quickly. Maybe it's empty, no one's in there, so you can get possession of it quickly. Look,
Yeah.
if I can make a little bit on that, that's super easy, I'm totally fine with that.
Right.
So for me, it's more about a dollar amount than it is a percentage.
Okay.
If there's a house that's really, really expensive and it's going to take me 6 months to do it, okay, then I'm going to have to make a lot of money because of the time required to get it done.
For sure. Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, and the risk that you're putting out there, because you have to remember it's all cash that you're buying these homes. So now you've got all this money sitting out, and if you have a disgruntled tenant that you've got to evict, or
Yeah.
or there's a lot of factors, right, that you're dealing with.
It's a ton.
Yeah.
And it's extremely risky. I mean, it is not. You just don't go into it and then think you're going to all of a sudden make a bunch of money on a house, because you can go into it and you can lose a bunch of money on a house.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's just something I was going
There's
to
the
bring
ugly
up
side
too.
to it.
Quickly.
Well, that's one thing that Maggie and I are dealing with right now with clients that are seeing on MLS all these auction houses all of a sudden, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
And they look nice for the price range.
they look
that they're in.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're getting the clients going, okay, well, we're just going to start going to the auction and picking up properties.
Mm-hmm.
And I know deep down that that's just not possible.
Correct.
Just a Joe Schmo just really can't. I mean, you can try, but you're probably going to buy something that's got a lien or something that's you didn't figure out in the background, right?
Right.
So what do you say to those people? Like,
Do not do it.
don't do it.
Yeah.
Unless you've just got a bunch of money to waste and you don't care about losing money,
Yeah.
do not do that.
Yeah.
You've got to have someone to help you, because there aren't any schools that you can go to learn this. It's like the Wild Wild West, and every situation is different, and things pop up out of nowhere that you could never have imagined that may pop up in this situation but didn't in another similar situation.
Right. And that's where delay of gratification comes in too, because you're really not making money for a while. Like you said,
Correct.
These homes that cost $1 million and you're putting money into it, you're not going to see that profit for 6, 7, 8 months.
Yeah.
And that's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So.
And I think one of the other big things to that is you've got to know the state's laws that you're in. Every single one of them are different. You've got to know what you can and can't do.
Right.
You've got to learn how to handle, if it does have a tax lien, who's responsible for all that? Is it you? Is it the bank? So there are fees that can come in, and all of a sudden you think you bought a house for $200,000, and by the time you're all done, you've just paid $400,000 for it,
Yeah. Scary.
and you can only sell it for $390.
Right.
So-
But I guess that comes into you having a good team
Yes.
that you can depend on to get that knowledge, whether it be
Yeah.
like the accountant or attorney or whoever your go-to people are, I would
and
assume.
it's all of the above.
Yeah.
You do need a lot of help, and as I was mentioning earlier about there isn't really a school to go and do this. I had to learn through trial and error,
Yeah, experience.
and I would not suggest doing that
No, like you said, unless you've got money to kind of play with.
unless you don't care about losing a whole bunch of
Right.
money. Then I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and that's hard for a lot of people because they don't have the capital to be able to just go out and
Yeah.
take that risk.
So and what I've learned basically is through trial and error. And yes, I've made mistakes. So every mistake you make, it's like, yeah, you paid for that education a little bit, but it can get pretty expensive.
I mean, on the whole, like it's a pretty good gig for you. I mean,
Yeah.
I would assume
Yeah.
it is, or you wouldn't have been doing it for how many years did you say? 7 or 8?
Yeah, 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, which is quite a bit.
Mhm.
So you've learned a lot, and now you're one of the big dogs at the court steps.
Well,
So that's exciting.
I'll let you say that.
I'm going to say that. I'm promoting you. I think you're a
Kara's
badass.
really good at making your head go like
I'm a
this.
very honest person. If he was an asshole, I would tell him.
That's funny. So tell us exactly like what your team looks like. So
Yeah.
you go looking for subs to do the work for you. You have somebody that helps you design, or you do that yourself.
Yeah, so from a sub standpoint, it's taken years and years and years of getting a great crew that I pay well, but they also know I keep them consistent with jobs, so they don't kill me with their pricing. So I think what I have now is a very fair price I'm paying, and my subs feel like they're getting paid very fairly to have consistent work for years and years and years.
Right.
So, but I will have to say that took years to get to that point, to have a loyal team that I can go into a house and just basically say, do what we do.
Yeah.
And then they know exactly what to do. It goes quick, and I feel like I'm, getting a good price.
And they're dependable.
And they're dependent.
That's the biggest thing,
Yeah.
is they show up to work.
Yes.
Because again, like, your money's there, so you have a timeline that's very important that you stick to.
Timing is very important, and
everything.
especially if you're dealing with an investor, because
Yeah.
every day is a dollar that's being churned.
Right.
Yeah, especially in Tennessee too, because you really never know what the weather's gonna do.
Right.
So that can affect your timelines. If you don't have people that are showing up when they're supposed to
Right.
show up, that'll
Yeah.
really mess you up.
There, I mean, a prime example right now, if you're getting ready to remodel a home, you've really got to be thinking about exterior, because we're
start
about to
raining.
turn into some weather, and I don't like to paint under certain temperatures. So all that stuff you've got to prioritize, because all of a sudden you've got a house remodel finished on the inside, nothing done to the outside, and you can't do that till the spring. So
Exactly.
Tennessee weather.
And that's
Yeah.
what the Joe Schmo that you were talking about, just going to the auction, buying these houses. They don't know things like that, and timing and being able to put the work into it.
Right.
It can really mess you up.
Yeah. Well, and I think for clients that come to us a lot and say that,
Yeah.
the main thing is you don't know what you're getting into. Like, you don't have the knowledge to do all that background homework and to go, like, knowing for sure you're buying that house without any liens or seconds on them or whatever the case might be.
Right.
And that's scary, because then they take on a whole nother, like you said, a $200,000 house. Now it might be a $400,000 home, which is maybe over the market value. So
Sure.
it's just not, I would not suggest
Yeah.
that they just do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
So what does the design side look like for you? So do you design? Because I went in one of your
Yeah.
homes. It
Yeah.
was beautiful. So I just want to know what the process is behind that too.
Well, thank you. Right, for me, the design side is I'm great with the bones. Now, when it comes to interior design, that is not my forte. I can tell if it looks good, but I can't go do it. But when it comes to setting up rooms, what walls need to be taken out to make it flow for someone, I do all of that myself. But I really just base it off of, if it were my house, what would I like?
Right.
And how would I like it to flow and feel? And that is how I design all the homes that I do.
So he's out there buying the tiles. They're picking the tiles and the paint colors and.
Yes.
Okay.
So I will do the tiles and the floor colors, and whether or not it's an LVP or hardwood, but and also countertops.
Okay.
But when it comes to staging it or furnishing it or putting the right window treatments up,
Yeah.
that is, I just don't have that talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of your homes, when you turn around and sell them, do you
Yeah.
stage them, furnish them, or no?
I don't, and I've tried that a couple of times, and I haven't seen the benefit for me. But for me, I'm putting a house out there to sell. I don't need the highest value for it,
Right.
because as Kara mentioned earlier, timing is everything for me. I want to put a house out there at the right price,
Right.
get it sold, get my money back, and keep doing what I do.
For sure.
See, and that's the big thing too, is pricing it right. And you know
Yeah.
it because you're at the forefront of it on the owner and the agent kind of side. So you're
Right.
seeing all of it. And like that's another thing, is educating people on how to price these homes correctly.
Yeah.
Because especially right now with what we're seeing with the market, you're gonna be chasing backwards, right? And then you're chasing dollars and you're losing them. So it's like you gotta price that house right.
I don't know if anyone knows how to price a house right now. It is.
Yeah, that's hard.
If they told you they did, I would be very reluctant on how, because it is changing as we speak
Yeah.
Correct.
right now.
Right.
And so I'm trying to figure that out right now, which then makes it even more difficult for me to go to an auction.
For sure.
Because if I don't know what the house is going to sell for when I get it finished, I can't buy
Yeah.
it.
Right.
So
And the market in 6 months from right now is totally different than what it is right now. Look at 6 months ago, people were paying $200,000-$300,000 over asking.
yeah.
Now we're lowballing houses.
And what have we
Oh,
had?
yeah.
4 or 5 interest rate hikes so far?
Yeah.
And are we going to have any more? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe. But
Yeah.
until the Fed feels like the economy is under control, they're going to keep raising them.
Correct.
Yeah,
So-
Puts a lot of buyers out of the market.
It does. And then
There's
what
a
is
lot of
that going to
fear.
possibly create? Is it going to create a recession, or is it actually going to do what it's supposed to do and level out?
Level out.
Right.
So all of a sudden, you could buy a home and you have no idea what it's going to sell for in 6
Yeah.
months.
And that's why we're seeing so much decrease in activity, because everybody's so scared. They
Yeah.
don't want, just
Yeah.
like you're reluctant to go to auctions, and
Right.
I mean, you guys haven't started investing yet. Here anyway, just
Yeah,
because
no.
you never know what's going to happen. You don't want to buy something and then be underwater. for
Right.
sure.
And for me, I do read a lot and I look at a lot of research, but what I'm saying is not coming from any research. It's just I always like to look and see what is happening to me today. So what I'm talking about is what I'm actually seeing. So someone may pull out a paper that says, oh, the supply is not going up. Well, what I see is that there's more supply now than it was.
Correct.
As I'm researching properties and trying to figure out, okay, what's for sale that's competing with me, I'm seeing more homes when I'm looking at that now.
And you're seeing those homes with price reduction.
And I'm seeing
Price
the homes
reduction.
with the price reductions too. So,
And then nobody knows how to price anything, like you were
No,
saying.
but that brings up a good point as far as like all these homes. Are we looking at like a flood of foreclosures at the auctions right now? Are you seeing more homes for sale
so,
at the home steps?
so yes, I don't know how long that'll last, but we are seeing more out there right now, and I'm wouldn't say 100% for sure, but I think it's probably a combination of two things. One is there was this, confidence in people and the economy there for a short period of time, and they probably overbought. Those are starting to come out, I think, a little bit, and then the fact that there was what do you call it? I guess they weren't allowing banks to foreclose on properties during COVID. For a certain period of time. So the banks had a lot of those properties that were getting backlogged that are getting released now.
So it's trying to get them off their books.
So I
now.
think we're seeing a combination of both of those, which is putting the
So you're
properties
seeing
out there.
So you're seeing a lot right now then.
Yes.
Do you think that that's going to continue?
It's going to take a while for it to get absorbed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And another question I have about
Yeah.
that is the ones that you are seeing come on, do you think that they are a good investment, or are they like going for too much too? Because you actually go to the auctions, you see what they're going for,
Yeah.
and we really can't see that from our side. So do you think it's actually worth it?
It can be. How's
Are
the
you
best
saying
way?
people are overpaying
How's the
at the
Yeah.
auction?
Yeah.
So the answer is yes and no. Yeah, you can go to an auction and spend $100,000 more than you should have
Yeah.
Yeah.
to win the auction. So, but you can also go and you can spend less than what
Right.
it's worth and have your room for remodel and make some money off of it.
Yeah.
You just have to know. You have to know what that house will sell for.
Yeah. And I guess that
Before you
goes
buy
with
it.
preparation too. Like you probably study that before you even go to know, okay, this is my top dollar that I'm willing to.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure, without a doubt.
He's got the spreadsheet and
Yeah.
the whole rehab.
With my formulas in it and
Yeah.
everything that
You have to.
yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going like blind, and that's a scary place to be.
Yeah, and I will tell you a funny story. So you're like, what's kind of a strange one that you ran into? Well, there was a house, and this was in Brentwood actually, and it kept going up for foreclosure, and then it would cancel, go up for foreclosure and cancel. So I was ride by it, make sure it was a house on the lot.
Sure.
And so it came back up, and this was probably maybe 3 or 4 months later. I did not go by the house again. Go to the auction. I win the auction. So I'm like, great, this is an awesome deal on this house. I go to the house, and it is black. So a kitchen fire had started and had basically burnt the entire kitchen out. The walls smoked out all the way upstairs. And you're talking about your heart sinking?
Uh-huh.
That's one of those situations where you go, okay, I just lost $250,000.
That was not on the budget.
I was not planned for it.
How long ago was that?
That was probably maybe 1.5 years ago or so.
I'm sure you have a lot of stories like that.
Oh, it would go, for days.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, what is the most you've ever lost?
On a house,
Yeah.
I would say.
Like, what's the biggest risk you took and it didn't work out?
The most I've lost around $300,000.
Ouch.
What was the scenario?
The scenario was the remodel cost entirely too much.
Yeah, where you just opening a can of worms and stuff just kept going wrong.
Older home, and every time you went into something else needed to be done. Mm-hmm. Something else needed to be done. Something else needed to be done. And I will have to say too, the floor plan wasn't perfect. Mm-hmm. Awesome, beautiful home, but just had little things like that just didn't work out to where you can make some money on it.
Yeah.
But,
ouch. That hurts.
That's
a lot.
Yeah.
It takes a little while to make that back up.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
but it's part of it. You
Yeah.
just, it's no way you're going to win every single one of them. So you just try to make sure you win more than you lose.
Well, and I think that also you need to make sure that you're not going too aggressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that it can be like, we did it for years also. So I understand that whole, damn, I haven't won one in a while.
Yeah.
I'm going to step out a little bit farther than my comfort zone because I
Yeah.
need one. And then you're like, now I'm a little too far out.
Right.
And you got to be careful with that, right?
And 12 months ago, okay, you can be aggressive.
Right.
Now, I don't think you can be aggressive.
You
So
need to be a
you
little
just
more
got to.
conservative on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your discretion, I guess. But
Yeah.
Right.
So, at what point when you started doing this, were you
Mhm.
like, okay, this is what I want to make my career, and this is what I want to do from now on?
The first one I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
You got a
really?
taste of the money?
Well, for me, it's about the excitement
Mm-hmm.
because I need to feel like I'm jumping out of an airplane when I go do something. Granted, I won't have to say it's a lot more tempered now than it used to be. So it's more educated risk.
Uh-huh.
But, it's a lot of excitement in doing this because you go into it with not knowing the answers.
Right.
You have a plan, and you would like those answers to be what you think they are, but you don't know until it finally gets finished.
And then when it's finished and you're like, cha-ching.
Or
that was
you're
really
like,
cool. Or you're like,
Wow.
yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're cha-chings more than
yes, no, you're right.
real estate in general. Is just,
No.
I think it's just an exciting.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
And the other thing about it is every single day is different, and every situation is different, and every day requires a different thought process.
Yeah.
Which that's what you wanted to get away from.
Exactly.
That every day the same grind.
Yeah.
Now you get a little stimulation.
You got
Your
it.
mind gets to work
Yeah.
different ways.
Mhm.
And you get to be outside most of the day. You're
Yeah.
not stuck in an office.
Yeah, and I will have to say the pharmacy side did because, as a college student, you come out, pharmacists make a decent amount of money. So it did give me some early cash as a young person
Sure.
to kind of venture out
Yeah.
and try different things. So
Did you have debt as a student?
no, fortunately, I did not have any debt when I came
That's
out.
really nice.
So yeah.
Bill would have been forgiven anyways, like yours. But that's a side note.
Whatever, Kara. I can't make decisions for the government. I can just take advantage of the government.
You can just take advantage.
Yes.
Right.
We're just gonna hurt them, but that's a different
Yeah.
scenario. But what tips would you have for somebody that's wanting to start it and get into it?
For sure, find somebody that knows what they're doing. That would be my that's what I would have done differently in the state of Tennessee, because I had to learn my mistakes by losing money doing it.
Yeah.
I learned them,
Right.
but you could save yourself a lot of money if you had someone that would help you do that.
I mean, that's definitely the fastest way to succeed in anything, though. It's just
Yeah.
not somebody that's already there.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, let someone kind of enlighten you on, okay, here's what I've done that didn't work. Here's what I've
Right.
done that has worked.
Saves a lot of time and money and
Yeah.
effort
Yeah, it
and
does.
energy.
And I would be careful with anyone that's advising you on how to do something that has never failed or had something that didn't work.
Right.
Fair. I like
Because-
that.
I just listened to
Yeah.
that somebody, what was it on, like news or something, and they were like, when you started riding a bike, did you fall off?
Yeah.
Like everything you needed to fail before you could actually succeed.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have those downs, like those downturns, then
How can you tell someone else how to avoid
right.
them?
Yeah, exactly. And how do you
And
avoid
how
it
to get out of
yourself?
Right.
Yeah.
And how do you make it better on the flip side?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure you learned so much from all that, and that's what makes you successful now.
It did, and it
Yeah.
has, but it's definitely, I would suggest you've got to get someone to help you, and you need a team of people. It can be done,
Right.
but you need to do all that first for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. When did you start seeing your time free up too? Because I'm sure in the beginning you were like doing it 24/7, but
Yeah.
now, I mean, you obviously have time for life and stuff too. So
Yeah.
what switched there?
So I'm not so sure I've made that time for life yet.
Okay.
I'm working.
You seem like
I'm
it.
working on that.
Okay.
Pretty good on Sundays.
Yeah.
Sundays is
Sundays.
just don't bother him day.
Yes, that is very true. So I do take Sundays. It's hard to get me on the phone or do something on Sundays, but I still need to do a better job at that work-life balance. Because right now there's a lot of hobbies and things that I've given up because I'm working a lot.
Yeah.
But you're
But
trying
I'm-
to figure out how to get that.
But I've promised myself I'm going to incorporate them back in.
Well, you have guys done 2 like triathlons.
Yes.
Lately.
Really?
I know.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Even like placed on one of them.
Yeah.
That's pretty
No
impressive.
way.
Now, in my age group.
Okay, we won't even say that. You're amazing.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
he didn't even train. He just jumps in the water
Okay,
and swims
what?
the Cumberland.
The
There's
first
no
one
way.
didn't have a lot of training, but I did the second one. I was like, okay, this was fun. I enjoyed that. So
Yeah.
actually, the second one, I'm like, all right, I want to actually prepare for this one.
Yeah.
So is this like a new thing we're gonna do? Like
Yeah, I like it.
That's
I
great.
mean, I'm not planning on going and doing an Ironman,
Oh,
but
boy.
but to get out and
Oh my
do normal
gosh.
triathlons and stuff,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun.
But see, that's something you're incorporating back in that you maybe
Yes.
lost through
Which-
all this.
Which is very true.
That's good
Kara.
stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have any
Yeah.
tips for how you have like made time for that? Do you have a specific?
Yes,
schedule?
which is this is another odd thing that it's going to be hard for a lot of people to do, and they may not even want to do it. So my alarm clock is set for 4:15. So I get up at 4:15,
Me and Kara are cringing.
I'm rolling over.
and the first thing I do is I go to the gym. So I'm usually back by 6:30 or so, 6:15, and then my day's usually starting. It's usually going pretty quick around 7. And so that gets my workout side in, so that in the evenings I'm not thinking about or worried about, okay, how am I at least going to get some sort of fitness in
Sure.
in the day. So sometimes the evenings and afternoons I get freed up.
Okay, that's really nice.
That's good. And it gets your mind. I mean, I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
like for me, like getting up and working out, it gets the endorphins running and it gets
Totally.
you like in a
Yeah.
good headspace,
Yes,
so that you can give your best that day.
correct.
Right?
Yep.
Really.
I mean, you feel the same way too. You're
Yeah.
pretty good about getting up and exercising.
Sometimes I do it at night, but I have noticed that if I work out later at night, I'll stay up late because it just keeps my mind
Keep the
up.
little energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
would much rather work out in the morning than
Yeah.
at night. It just drains
Sets
you.
your day. Sets
Yeah.
your motive. I don't know.
It does, and it's quiet and peaceful during that time. I love the mornings.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
an early bird.
I am.
Okay, but also this guy doesn't have a bad day. He's just
What do you mean?
Mark is.
He just told us about a few bad days.
No, but he's in his
You
bad day. Is
wouldn't
still
be
look
able
like
to
this.
see it on
No.
me.
No, Ashton's wife. Stephanie's
So
like,
bubbly.
can you just have a bad day today, Mark?
Yeah.
She's like, I'm pissed off. Why can't you be pissed off?
Well, that's good though. That's how you have to be.
Yeah.
There's just not a whole lot of reasons for that.
Yeah.
Life's too short to get caught up and worried about something minor. No one's lost an arm or an eye or whatever the case may be. So I'm always in a good mood. I will have to say that.
Well, that's good. Yeah, you're always smiley and joyful. So, do you have any tips? Because you said that your day is like all over the place and no day looks the same. So, do you have any kind of like schedule or like notepad that you write everything down in to remember everything, or you just kind of wing it every day?
No, I do keep everything on a calendar.
Okay.
Just on my iPhone, normal, calendar like that. But I do plan my next day. It's never too far in advance, but at least by the day before, I know what I'm doing the next day. I never wake up in the morning and go, okay, now I need to figure out what I'm going to do today.
Right.
That's always kind of what I do at the end of the day.
Right. You don't want to plan too far ahead because it always freaking changes.
Well, and for instance, with the foreclosure homes, you can go spend 3 days researching and looking at this house 2 weeks prior to the auction, and then they all cancel. So you've wasted that time. So it really gets crunch time. You do have to kind of wait and do last minute stuff within hours to make sure you're not wasting your time.
And that can be frustrating too.
Very.
You're like, oh my gosh, because you have to drive the homes.
Yeah.
I know you do a lot of knocking on the doors to see if people are around.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot to it, and then you're like, oh my gosh, the house is off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so how do you keep your spirits from like being like, that was kind of a bummer?
You just know because you've seen it happen good, so you know it's just part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like going fishing. Sometimes you're gonna go catch something, and sometimes you're not.
Well, I was gonna give you an example. It's like when buyers can be such flippy floppy.
Yeah.
And she spends a lot of time showing property, and then she gets frustrated. Well, aren't they gonna write? And I'm like, you can only lead a horse to the water. You can't make them drink, kind of thing. And it's hard because you want them to take the next step, and you put all this energy in. Yeah. And I'm like, don't get down on yourself. It's all part of real estate. You're gonna spend a lot of unnecessary time.
Oh, tons.
Pray for the deal, but that it comes.
Yeah.
I would probably have to say 75% of my time doesn't bring the value financially. Yeah. That's 25% is where you're getting what you're trying to accomplish. 75% is just time that it takes in order to get to that other 25%.
Which is exactly what my girlfriend Eva was on. She's a real estate broker from California. And she was, if you really did the math, I'd probably make $4 an hour. Because you work so hard, like trying to get, in your profession, our profession, all kind of roles together. You work your ass off. Yeah. And if you really calculated the time and energy put in, maybe I make a quarter. I don't know. Yeah. Like, it's not much. So when we get those big paydays, we're appreciative.
No,
there's a lot that goes into that payday.
You're right, Carol.
So.
I was going to say, it might look like when you have done a big flip and you're done with it, it might look like you have a big paycheck, but all the time that you spent on other houses that didn't pan out and stuff, that's making up for all of that. So we've had conversations too about like realtors and people in the real estate market being overcompensated. It's like, okay, we've obviously never done it if you're saying that, because it takes a lot of time and effort.
And it takes your weekends and, family time. And I guess to kind of circle back on why this whole podcast is about work-life and balance. Yeah. Like, how do you balance it all? Like, I know you're at the auctions. You're kind of a one-man show when it comes to that in Middle Tennessee, right? And then you're running the rehabs,
the
design, and a successful marriage. Like, how does that all
it's just still, Kara, it's a work in progress.
Okay.
And I'm not saying I'm like the poster child for that example by any means. It's still a work in progress, and we just do basic things like, all right, we're gonna sit outside on the back deck, and we're leaving our phones inside.
Love that.
It's really just simple stuff we all know, but it does take a little bit of effort to do that.
Right.
Or we'll say, all right, we're going to take some time and we're going to go grab lunch, or we're going to go to dinner tonight. It's just small things like that can easily just get put aside.
Correct.
Unless you go ahead and make yourself do that.
Right. I love that.
And I love the putting the phone away kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's quality time.
Because
we're all obsessed.
Yeah, well, and mine blows up constantly.
Right.
So when we've finished this, I'm sure I'm going to get my phone and I'm going to have
messages.
Yeah. People that are wanting them question.
Right. But we also that before we like wrap it up, that is one thing we talked about on one of the other episodes was like nothing is, and sometimes it is, like if funding is coming in on a real estate deal or you need to be at the court steps at noon.
Right.
That's beside the point. But nothing really is of dire straits where it needs to be dealt with at this instant.
Correct.
They can wait 15 minutes. If I need to go start chicken, or I need to have a minute to do homework with my son, or you need a moment to have a glass of wine with Stephanie, you want to go play with the dog and take him for a walk, that's all like fine and dandy. Those people can wait.
Yeah.
If they can't, then sorry.
I'm
going to get back to you.
We're not in surgery.
Right.
I'm not a neurosurgeon where, okay, this is life and death and I've got to be right there. This is somebody maybe at Home Depot needing something or they want to know, what we want to do in this situation.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
I know.
well, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
It's not anything that needs to be done right then.
But it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to be...
Of course.
Not everybody's on their phone like we are.
Yeah.
That's our job. We're always on the phone.
True.
So her and I are like instant. Like she texts, I instantly reply.
You give a text back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
and I am really good at it too, Maggie. I'm
seriously.
Good.
Yeah. Whenever I was doing that open house for you, like you were so responsive, and you were going on vacation the next day, and you have so many people texting you, but I guess it's just priorities, and even though somebody might not be that important, like you still make them feel important. So that's sweet.
No, well, thank you.
Yeah. But we need to make ourselves important sometimes too, and that's what it's like. Take a minute.
Yeah, prioritize.
It'll be okay, and it'll be there when we're done.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
well, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're
this is
the
fun.
best,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I think people are going to learn a little bit about this. And,
good, hopefully.
And, I mean, flipping Nashville, you might be the next star of that show.
I'm a behind the scenes person. I'm not your front page glossy.
Well, you do a darn good job, and you're awesome to watch and succeed, and I love all that. So
well, thank you, Carol.
Thank you for being here with us today, and
thanks, Maggie.
Thank you. We will see you all next time. Like, share, subscribe, the whole works. But
all right, till next time.
See you.
Take care.